Welcome back to the Art of Hobbiness. I'm Erin, joined by my lovely co-host Tam.
Hi!
And today we are talking about an interesting topic about how hobbies can make you more successful in life, just generally in business world, but also parenting, leadership, and all sorts of different areas. So I think you came across in this interesting article and you sent it to me from Inc.com.
Yes.
And it was about celebrity hobbies and just talking about how hobbies in general can help you be more successful in life.
Yeah, but you know
what? It's an interesting idea.
It wasn't even just like having hobbies. It was about being passionate about hobbies.
Right.
That was the part that I found the most interesting and why I said it to you. Well, also because I thought it was interesting to read the celebrity hobbies.
Yeah, I mean, that is always interesting. We will share some of those as well.
How do we get those guys on this show?
Right. That would be incredible, right? That would be fun.
Dolly Parton, this is my public claim to get you on my show and talk about your hobbies, please.
Oh gosh, that would be so cool.
Right, but no, it talks about like how specifically being passionate. Like they was talking about how if you look at some of like the greatest celebrities in time, like was it Steve Martin?
Yeah,
like is incredibly passionate about banjo.
Yeah,
which you would never know, right? But they were talking about how those key passions to those successes are what's making them successful in life, because a lot of the skills you learn from being passionate about a hobby translates over into other areas. It gives you skill set, right?
Yeah, right. It gives you, and some surprising things I hadn't considered too in the article, and it makes sense now that we've talked about it. So I want to share that with our listeners. But you know, the one thing that stood out to me was this idea of creative spillover. I never really heard that term, but this idea that if you, just like any muscle in your body, if you utilize it, it's going to get stronger, right?
Yes.
And so your brain is the same. So this idea of utilizing your creativity through hobbies, whatever that may be, can literally spill over, strengthens that brain muscle to utilize that in other areas of your life. So utilizing that in business or as a parent, you know, and it helps you be more agile and, yeah, like you said, have a larger skill set.
Well, you're right. Really cool. It's funny that you use the term creative spillover, because in my research, it was the cup is full, right? Yeah. And it was talking about, so I get another spillover. Oh, fluid metaphors. And it was talking about how, you know, as millennial moms, for instance, like we constantly talk about how like we just feel like our cup is being drained, right? And being pulled out of. But like what fills the cup, right? Well, hobbies can actually use as a way to fill the cup, right? And if you practice your hobby skills, which for me, a lot of them was breaking through perfection. Like I feel like I feel like I can confidently say now had like this huge perfectionism wall that I could not get past. And it literally affected every area in my life. And parenting was the one area I didn't want it to be so much so, and it really was like the most glaringly one, right? And by me trying hobbies and learning to suck at them,
make mistakes,
and like, you know, part of my journey in this podcast is like basically doing like the dirty jobs version of hobbies, right? Like I try a new hobby and I try a new hobby and I try a new hobby. Well, I've noticed I've gotten a little bit more comfortable with kind of sucking at something, not knowing how to do anything, and just throwing myself in that. And that's kind of spilling over into my parenting world. Is I'm learning to kind of be okay when I make mistakes. Like before, if I made a mistake as a mom, like, man, I put myself in the bathroom and just kind of sit and pout for a little bit and just be like, oh yeah, Mom will be out in a second, I just need a moment, you know? Whereas now I don't feel like I'm as crippled by a mistake.
That's amazing.
You know, I feel like now that I've had a lot of practice in the hobby arena of kind of failing and then trying again, like when it comes to like my kids now, if I do something that I personally feel is a failure, I'm like, dang it, okay. I'm gonna have a conversation with my kid and explain where I was trying to come from there and how it probably didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but you know, let's try again tomorrow, kind of thing, or let's try again.
That's amazing.
Let's try in this task.
How incredible, right?
Well, you know, again, I just think it just comes from practicing in a creative arena. You know, I would say if I
and strengthening that skill.
Yes,
right.
And strengthening it, and being passionate about it, because like in my work life. Like I have to be productive, right? And so I'm a little more afraid to have trial and error in my work life, because not only do I have like a you know, is that actually a direct reflect to a whole company?
Yeah.
But also it's because, you know, like financial ties to
Mhm,
that, right?
mhm.
You don't want to fuck up.
You don't want to mess up, right? Yes,
But you-
absolutely.
but you know-
Hobbies are a low stakes place to make mistakes.
Yes,
right? Yeah,
exactly. And
Yeah.
so like it's a great arena to practice in
Mhm.
and let that spill over.
definitely.
And by being passionate about learning and trying new things in that arena, I do feel like it's allowing me to kind of be more it's not crippling me
Right.
in other areas.
That's amazing.
I feel like
That's
I'm
so
trying
amazing. Well, and I think like overall, it just it boosts your well-being as a
Mhm.
person, right? And then you're
Absolutely.
going to show up better in all areas of your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's, there's so many awesome things. And I thought this article was so great, and this research that showed this was just so amazing to exactly what we're speaking to, and that we've lived. Like
Mhm.
we could be in this our research.
We
We should have done our own research study on
Put
ourselves.
our own article on there. But it's, you keep talking about how like the passionate piece about it,
Mhm.
I think in the beginning I thought that hobbies were just something that only like was a luxury to people,
Mhm.
right? But I think when you look at how passionate people can be about hobbies, I think that just kind of shows how maybe hobbies aren't necessarily just a luxury. Maybe hobbies should be considered a necessity.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
change. Like I think early on I thought for sure hobbies were a luxury.
Yeah.
And I also kind of thought they were a waste of time.
Really?
I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you. Like I lived and breathed that hustle culture. Right?
Yeah. I'm
And
right
so,
there
like,
with you. Yeah.
Downtime,
definitely.
which would have been what hobbies would have felt in,
Mhm.
felt like wasted
Mhm.
time. And I was just like, how could you waste that time? Time is
Mhm.
money, right? But I think as we continue to explore the benefits of hobbies, I think we're realizing that being just as passionate about a hobby as you are as passionate about, making a living for your
Mhm.
family, can really benefit.
Definitely.
Your-
It's just gonna like be reciprocal, it's just gonna
Mhm.
help boost that if that is what you want, your
Mhm.
business life to improve that.
Oh yeah, and you
Yeah.
can and then like that, like you said, that creative spillover
Mhm.
spills over into your career and
Mhm.
spills over into your parenting,
Mhm.
and it just creates a more even, pleasant playing field
Definitely.
across all of the arenas of your life, as opposed to just putting all of your efforts into the one productive cup that's really just working towards
Right.
a company.
Yeah,
as
and
opposed
then
to
you're
just,
gonna. If you do that, you're gonna, as we know, you're gonna burn yourself out. You're gonna be
Mhm.
stressed. You're gonna be anxious. You're gonna get depressed. Like all the bad things you don't want, and then therefore your productivity is gonna go down,
Mhm.
and all of the negative things that come along with that. So it's like if you don't make time for, like, somebody once told me that if you don't make time for yourself, your body's gonna make time is gonna force you to make that time
oh yeah,
because
I bet
of
you're
just like the
right.
stress that comes out, and like
Yeah.
the aches and pains that can come out physically.
Like how you'll just get like sick. You
Yeah.
literally work yourself to
Yeah.
death.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Can you creative yourself to death?
I don't know. I can't imagine.
Starving
Seems like
artist.
it's so positive. Well, that's different. That's a different kind of stress, right?
Trying to figure out. I was like, there's got to be something. We'll have to ask some of our creative folks. If only we had a show where we can interview somebody in that arena and see what they would say.
Yeah. Gosh, we should start a show like that.
We should.
The other interesting fact that I thought was just a nice little tip was that the research showed that employees who have hobbies are more likely to get promoted.
Are they really?
Yeah, that's what it said. I thought that, it makes sense with all the things we're talking about.
Well, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
You're right, because,
Mhm.
if you think about it, it's just...
You show up better to work.
You show up more
You
positive.
perform better. More
Mhm.
positive.
You're more creative.
Yeah.
Yep, because you already know how to navigate
Mhm.
and switch the brain to
Mhm.
different arenas to think
Mhm.
outside the box.
Yes.
Which I will say, I personally feel like I'm so much better at these
Yeah.
days, is thinking outside the box.
I agree.
Yeah, I
I
feel
see
like
more
that's-
possibilities or more options.
Mhm.
Definitely more open to different things.
Did that
Yeah.
article? This is a total side note, Erin.
What's
I
that?
just want to go. Which one? The celebrities and their hobbies. Was there one in there that surprised you?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think there was anything that super surprised me.
Yeah.
No. Was
No.
there anything that surprised you besides
was-
the banjo?
What was that? One stuck with me just.
I guess Justin Bieber was like a Rubik's Cube master or
What?
something like
Actually,
that.
I think I knew that.
I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
know
that one's actually
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
We'll have to go through one of these episodes. We'll have to do like a whole list
Celebrity
of
hobbies.
and all
Yeah.
theirs.
That would be fun. Did
Yes.
you have another one that you stood out to you?
There was somebody in there that did a unicycle, and I
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
remember which
Who
one.
was that?
Mark
I can't remember.
Ruffalo.
Oh, maybe that sounds right.
Was it him?
Yeah.
I didn't even know like unicycles were still a thing.
Yeah.
How did somebody
Like,
fall
why
into
would
that?
somebody pick that up?
How did you fall into that?
I don't know.
It was brilliant.
But it is brilliant. Challenging. I mean, unique. You know.
Agile.
Definitely a party trick. I don't know. You know. Pull that unicycle out.
Yes. But anyway, so we go back to the article.
But yeah.
Highly recommend you take a listen or take a read of it.
Definitely, it is good. We can link that in our bio or in our episode thing. I think it's to your point, like, hobbies aren't just for celebrities, right? It's for everybody.
It's for everybody.
And, like, and it's not just hobbies, it's, like, making the time for yourself. Whatever that may be, right? Yeah. And it can just start small. It doesn't have to be anything big. You do not have to take on learning a musical instrument or anything like that. It can be really small. We found just, like, 10 minutes of any sort of like walking, coloring, you know, any sort of little hobby can really make a difference.
Yeah, and the article points out that most every successful person has a hobby.
Yeah.
And so it's clearly it's not, I mean, in my mind, that suggests that a hobby is like critical to
yes.
Making you a well-rounded person and potentially even a more successful person. And so I recommend that you get a hobby.
Indirectly, your hobby does make money. Makes you more money. If that's what's important to you.
It might be to some people, but maybe that, oh my goodness, you're right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, because, you know, we're always like, you don't have to have your hobby make money. Right. Your hobby's supposed to bring joy. Right. But maybe.
I mean, we have to have money to live, right? So if you just like.
Helps you better in that arena, which eventually then continues to help make more money.
Yeah. Mind blown.
You're mind blowing.
It all comes full circle.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for listening to us today. We appreciate you joining us. Make sure you check us out on the socials, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bye.